Hey guys, welcome to my backyard. Nothing I would love more than to give this speech to you in person. To say that I have missed you all since school is closed is an understatement. Life's pretty strange right now, but we're all in this together. I'm sad but excited to say that this is my last year at Carmen. In the last 8 years, my coworkers and students made me a teacher. I've accepted a science teaching position at Franklin High School in Franklin, Wisconsin. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart for this life changing experience. I will never forget any of it or any of you. This experience has been shaped by several people during those 8 years, and the first person I would like to thank is Dr. Patricia Hoban. If you are unfamiliar with the story of the founding of Carmen, I suggest Googling her name. I want to thank her because she took a big chance on me 8 years ago. I was a guy that did not have a very impressive resume and almost no science teaching experience. I could tell she was unsure about me. I'll never forget the day I called her to follow up on my interview and tried really hard to talk her into giving me this job. Dr. Hoban, if you're listening, thank you very much for choosing to offer me the position, and I'm forever grateful for the opportunity you gave me. I would like to dedicate this award to a person that meant the world to me. Since coronavirus has disconnected us so much, I've not had the chance to tell most of my Carmen family that I lost my dad on April 22nd of this year. He was a big part of who I am. He shaped my personality immensely. He taught me how to laugh with other people. I love you always, Dad, and this award is for you. I would next like to acknowledge my coworkers. Every single person who works at Carmen deserves this award. Thank you all for creating a workplace that always puts the students first. Everyone here thinks about their jobs 24 hours a day. It has not been like that anywhere else that I have taught. I would like to specifically shout out Chris Sover. Chris Sover was a biology teacher that left here the beginning of the 2016 school year. Him and I taught biology together for many years, and I learned a lot from him. He showed me that relationships with students come first in the classroom, and he also showed me how to have more fun with my students. Thank you, Mr. Sover, my brother in biology. Next, I'd like to thank Miss W. Miss W has been a mentor for me, starting with the class of 2020's freshman year. She helps me see different sides of people that frustrate me. Thank you for always listening when I needed to bounce ideas off someone. Thank you for always being someone that I can confide in and laugh with. Miss W often says that steel sharpens steel. Well, Miss W, on behalf of everyone here, thank you for always being steel for us. Finally, I'd like to thank all of my students, specifically the class of 2020. You guys know this award meant the world to me. I will hang it on my classroom wall and tell the story of this day to everyone who asks about it for the rest of my life. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. My happiest memories working here were your freshman biology classes. I enjoyed our initial conflicts and building those conflicts into relationships that made that class a blast to teach. To my cerebros, I remember the day we sat in the auditorium in front of you and read the list of names of the kids assigned to our advisories. I remember taking my cerebritos up to 307 and getting started. I remember I told you all the next 4 years would fly by, and that by the end of those 4 years, you would develop an appreciation for Carmen that would make you miss it when you were gone. I hope that's true. So, let's start class. Your note header for today is that your time at Carmen has come to a close. This may be sad for some and joyous for others. My guess, however, is that most of you feel a little bit of both. Remember, that's totally normal. Change is always hardest at first. Think back to how intimidated and scared you probably were when you started here. People you didn't know, classes you had to take that you knew would challenge you. You were forced to step out of your comfort zone. In the end, you may even miss it here, right? Does that sound familiar? My point, of course, is that college is not the first time you've been asked to step out of your comfort zone, and it won't be the last. In fact, if you think back to all the wonderful parts of your life, They must have all began this way. Now's the time in class when I inevitably tell you some random story with a very, very loosely related point. So here we go. I remember the first day of second semester of my sophomore year in high school. I did not want to go to school that day because it was the first time my schedule changed. I had to start new classes. I was particularly upset because I had this really funny history teacher in first period. He used to do things like make fun of everyone's last name. I was Matt Boring. Ha ha, very funny, Mr. Stevens. Everyone in my school thought it was hysterical to come to class late and announce yourself when you walked in. This teacher came up with a very creative way of dealing with us. The door to the classroom didn't have a window in it, and when the bell rang, he closed the door to the room. He then took the TV cart and pushed it right in front of the doorway. So when a kid walked in late and announced themselves, you would hear something like, "Hey, everybody!" Ow! It was really funny. Anyway, I was upset because I wasn't in his class anymore. Instead, I now had a class called Consumer Ed. Consumer Ed was about as interesting as it sounds. We studied investing and balancing your checkbook and stuff like that. Nowhere near as interesting as biology by any stretch of the imagination. The teacher for this class was not funny at all and had a reputation for making kids work really hard. Anyway, I remember we weren't sitting down for more than 30 seconds and we started taking notes. And I realized that I didn't have a pen. So I poked this girl sitting in front of me to ask her for one. She turned around and said, "Yeah, sure, but your breath stinks." I thought that was funny. We ended up talking every day and becoming closer and closer friends. On June 23rd, we'll have been married 13 years. The point of my rambling is that sometimes the changes in your life may frighten or even frustrate you, but they can lead to the best things that ever happened to you. Now, tomorrow in class, I'll tell you the story of why I hate horses. So you might be thinking, man, I don't ever want to leave high school. I remember thinking the same thing, but let me tell you, adult life is not that bad. Sometimes, though, you have to do some really boring stuff. Sometimes you have to get dirty. Sometimes you have to do chores over and over and over again. Sometimes you just want to go back to bed. But a lot of the time, you still get to have fun. I would just like to mention some things about the class of 2020 that I will never forget. Dan Andrade and Freddie's hair, Santiago's nails, Cynthia Cantu's huge smile. Honey, that smile is so big, you're going to have cheek problems when you get older. Yahaira, I will never forget the day. In my class, Miss Rodriguez gave you that Tootsie Roll and you turned around and threw it in the garbage. Andrew, your sneeze. Milagros, your sneeze. Frankie yelling, "Let's go!" Max's quiet confidence. Montoya's quiet everything. Maggie saying, "Show his butt," in Cinema Club. Daisy Duran's fearlessness. Donna's friendliness. Confusing Diana and Vanessa for the first week of school. Liani carrying that poster board down the hall that was taller than she was. Never being sure if Erica was furious or sad. All 4 words that Omar said his entire time here at Carmen. Candia yelling, "This is my future!" at the top of her lungs in Schrader's class. Marcelli for making me feel appreciated as a teacher and as a person. Alondra Plata for her awesome and unique sense of humor. Fernando, I just want to say cleaning out your locker was an experience. Robert, from the bottom of all your teachers' hearts, thank you for graduating. And all of you, I would like to say thank you for your kind wishes that you gave me when I told you I was going to be a dad your freshman year. So graduation speeches from people who have already graduated are supposed to offer advice to that graduating class. I thought about all the things that changed that day in my life and summarized what I thought was important for you. This is the kind of stuff that I would probably put on a final exam, okay? It's that important. First, let's talk about college. In my experience, you have a lot to look forward to here. It's really hard to see that now. If you're anything like I was at your age, all you can think about is how much you'll miss your family and significant others and how hard the change is going to be. I can tell you from experience that when you look back on these days, those are the last things you will think about. You will remember the great new friends you're about to make, how small the world seems to you now versus how large it looks when you finish, or vice versa. And you'll look back with pride when you remember how you thought that college was this huge deal that you would be lucky to finish. In my experience, all of you who want to finish will. It might not be 4 or even 5 years, and that's just fine. Just hang in there. My biggest takeaway from college was that my success had absolutely nothing to do with how smart I was, but how hard I was willing to work. Let's talk about picking a career. When I was your age, and I would hear someone say, being happy is not about money, it's about doing what you love, I would roll my eyes and say to myself, yeah, that's bullshit. I always thought money makes you happy, plain and simple. Guys, that sentiment is sort of true and sort of not true. In my opinion, the truth is money can make you happy to a minimal extent. You have to feed yourself. You have to shelter yourself. You have to be proud of yourself for having the ability to do those things well. However, that's where money's ability to make you happy ends. Take it from a guy who just won the greatest award he will have his entire career. The way you succeed at work is by doing something that makes you happy. It's much easier to be committed to something if it really means something to you. Next, as a person who just lost his father in April, and as a person who loved his father dearly, try not to hold grudges. At the very least, try not to hold grudges with family. It's completely normal to want to use this time in your life to get away from your parents and distance from your family. In fact, in a lot of ways, that's healthy. But I promise you, there will come many, many times in your life when all you want to do is go home. When all you want to do is sit around a table for an evening and share the same stories you've heard your mom and dad tell 100 times already. Here's some practical advice. When you move out, call your parents at least once a week. Tell them what's going on. Tell them about your plans for the next week. Tell them you love them. And when you see them in person, take pictures. My niece said something to me after my dad passed away that I found very interesting and very true. She said, I'm glad I took so many pictures of Grandpa because now those are the only things I want. Finally, in general, try to only think about the past in the presence of others. Think about the future always. Remember, your greatest future memories will almost always start with you stepping out of your comfort zone. In closing, if you get to college next year and you feel like maybe you don't belong, remember you came from Carmen, a school where it didn't matter how much money your parents made or how good of an athlete you were, only how hard you worked. And never forget, carne de burro no está transparente. I wrote a haiku about Carmen, and I'd like to share it with you now. Graduate today, never air conditioning, don't eat the food here. Now we can be friends on Facebook, but don't post stupid stuff. What am I talking about? I can't do it justice by describing. So here are some summaries of the last 5 things former students I'm Facebook friends have visibly posted to me. A meme about an unplanned pregnancy, something in Spanish about needing a boyfriend, something in Spanish jokingly asking to borrow $40,000, a reposted comment about needing to lose weight, and something that made me laugh out loud that said, I hate it when people say I'm lollygagging when clearly I'm dilly-dallying. My point is, don't mistake reposting everyone else's trivial crap as communicating and keeping in touch with people. Use social media to tell the world how you're doing. Tell us what you're up to and excited about. Tell us about the trips you take and the friends you make. Not 100 posts about how you wish you could meet a good significant other, because most of the time, people can't help you with that. In closing, as great as a moment as this is, don't make this your greatest achievement. Always be thinking for the next thing you can do to improve your situation. That may be a promotion, another degree, a new job. Keep yourself moving forward, just like you have the last 4 years. Congratulations to the class of 2020. Stay in touch and go take this world by storm. Thank you.